So, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Paul Carroll Sport Podcast. This is their third episode for the County Senior Hurling Championship for 2024. Of course, round two is getting underway this weekend, so we're going to be looking ahead to all the games across the Senior, Premier Intermediate, and Intermediate Hurling Championship. Some unbelievable games on this weekend, and some games that just have massive consequences. Some teams could be their Dan Breen hopes or their Seamus O'Reen hopes or the intermediate championship hopes could be over after this weekend, and some big teams as well. So we're going to look down through all the games. I'll give my predictions. I'm going to have to improve from the last day. The first podcast we done for this county championship, I went 9 for 23. So I'm under a bit of pressure this week now because another bad performance like that, and I'm going to be veering in towards spoofer territory. But some people might think I'm already there. But look, as we've seen how unpredictable the county championship is, it is fierce hard to try and predict who's going to win these games. Some of them are so finely balanced, but we'll go down through all those games. It's probably going to be a quicker podcast than the review ones because we're not looking back. We're not going to be talking too much on individual games in terms of who's played well or whatever, like we do on the review podcast. So the review ones, as always, will be out Sunday. So this Sunday evening, I'll get the review out. A busy weekend ahead. I'm doing 4 games on the radio this weekend. Sunday, I'll be up in Croke Park for the Tip Junior Camogie team. That's on early in the day, so around 1 o'clock. So I should be home in time to see the last couple of games on Sunday evening and record the podcast. So it should be a Sunday night upload anyway. Should be good to go for the time Monday morning comes around. But this should be out. I'm recording this. What time are we? Where can I see the time? 7:25 on Wednesday evening. So you should have a bit of time to get this listened to before the start of the Friday evening when the games get underway. So a few changes to the podcast, a couple of feedback from some listeners. I have taught myself how to press mute when I'm taking a swig of water. That was a bit of an issue for some listeners in the last week. And I've also added this nice little transition. So if you are watching on YouTube, look at that. Able to go from just the camera to the camera and the screen in the background. So we're moving up in the world of podcasting on YouTube. Again, YouTube, we're slowly building up the following. If we can get up to getting about 250 views on the last podcast, we'll take that. That's good going. If we can get up to maybe the subscriber count up, I think 80% of the people who watch on YouTube aren't subscribed. So if you are watching on YouTube, give us a subscription. It's free on YouTube. And it just helps with the algorithm and things like that. If you're listening on Spotify as well, if you haven't rated as well, give us a good rating and retweet on Twitter. That's nearly kind of my best traffic, I suppose, way I get listeners and things like that. It's probably through Twitter. So without further ado, let's get into the games this weekend. So we'll start with the Senior Championship. Massive game on this Friday evening in Dala. Killer One MacDonough's against Bursalee. Both of these teams winners in the opening round of games. As you can see the table in front of you here now, Killer One in first place, Bursalee in second, with Toom and Drum in third place. So this is Group 1 of the Senior Hurling Championship. Killer One and Bursalee, like this game it's so much on the line because whoever wins this is pretty much guaranteed a place in the quarterfinals. So this is just massive for both of these teams. Killer One had that massive game against Drum and Inch the first time, 420 to 125. Couple of injury concerns. I'm not sure if Dar Peters, we haven't seen him feature, I think, just yet. He spent a good few years in New York and he's back now with Killer One. So be interesting to see, will he be starting on Friday evening. Also, for Killer One, I didn't hear any update on Conor Cleary. He looked to be in a bad way when he went down that time against Drum and Inch, so we'll see if he features. But this Killer One team, as I said on the last podcast, it was a real kind of, you almost forgot kind of performance that day up in Tipperary against Drum because they were the county champions 2 years ago, relegation battle last year, but when they get everyone together, they're a really good team. For Bursalee, they had a big win in Dala over Toom the last time out, 117 to 18 points. Brendan Maher went off injured in that game, so not sure if he's going to be back. I know James Devaney definitely won't be playing. He was sent off late on against Toomevara, so he's going to be a big loss for Bursalee. But yeah, this is a massive game. I'm really looking forward to doing this game on Friday evening, so I'll just get the fixture up in front of me here on the screen. It's on Friday evening in Dala at 7:15. Will be on Tip FM. I've never done a game in Dala, so I think I've commentated on well over 100 games at this stage, but never done one in Dala, only over the road. So looking forward to that on Friday evening. I if this is one of those games, like they're going to be so close, I'd give the nod here to Killer One, just because I'm not sure about the fitness of Brendan Maher, and then James Devaney missing as well, and you just think Killer One will be on a huge crest of a wave with how they held out against Drummond Inch the first time out, and for Bursley they actually had a bit of a poor second half against Toon. Now they did hold out and get the last couple of scores to get that win. I just have a slight fancy here for Killer One, but these aren't kind of nailed on kind of predictions. So for this first game here, we will go with team number 2 on the prediction screen in front of me. So we'll go with Killer One there, but that is going to be tight. So 9 out of 23 is how I did the last day. And let's try and get to double digits anyway with my prediction. So we'll go with Killer One for that one. The other game then in this group, again, I will be doing this game on Tip FM as well. And this is one of the games when the fixtures come out that I was really looking to, because Drummond Inch and Toom would have high aspirations in the county championship. Drum were quarter finalists last year. Toom got to the semi-final last year, beaten by Killadangan. But now whoever loses this game is pretty much their Dan Breen hopes are gone, and they'll be thinking about just avoiding a relegation battle come the final game of this group. So this is a huge game on Saturday. Drum against Toom, 3:45 in Bursley. It's the second of a doubleheader. Clonoulty and JK Brackens is the game on before it. So for Toomevara, their cornerback Jake Ryan, I just have the programme here in front of me, just so I can run down through the names and make things easier for myself. But Jake Ryan, I believe, pulled a hamstring, I think it was. So I had mentioned in the last day that he had gone down and looked to be in a bad way in terms of an injury. So he's going to be missing out for Toom. For Drummond Inch, then I believe Jamie Maloney should be able to start. He only came on the last day, and Mike Fitzpatrick as well. So, like, there's so much talent on both of these teams. Both have good goalkeepers. Both have, inter-county experience. But a lot's going to be dependent on maybe Darragh McCarthy for Toomevara. And you'd like to, I believe Mark McCarthy had a good game when he only came on against Bursley last day. So you think he might come in to start. This again is a really hard game to call. Drummond Inch will be really disappointed with the goals they conceded against Killer One. They had a big struggle under long high balls in with Keane O'Kelly and Thomas Cleary doing particular damage for Killer One that day. I don't think Toom have that much of an aerial threat compared to Killer One. Like, if you look at their forward line, Jack Delaney, Kevin McCarthy, Mark McCarthy, Darragh McCarthy, Colin Canning and Shane Nolan as it's listed there, and none of them really, none of them are Thomas Cleary or Keane O'Kelly in terms of catching high ball. They're all able to win a high ball, but they're not that edge of the square threat really. But it'll be interesting to see how Toom played. Would they push Jack Delaney maybe into the full forward line as a threat, bring Kevin McCarthy out? Shane Nolan is a good man to snap a ball when he's on form as well. But then if you look at their bench, the likes of Jake Hackett there, will he get the start? Adam Hall started the last day, has kind of been better nearly off the bench. He's still a very young player. He's he's a very good option there for Toom. So Toom do have options, but this is very much do or die for both of these teams. And for Drummond Inch, their forwards, rattle themselves off there. Shamie Callan, young Cormac Fitzpatrick there, Tommy Nolan as well, and then the Campions littered around the field as well. So, God, this is a really, really tough one to call. In my head now as I'm talking, I don't even know who's going to win this. This could be, I feel like there's 3 to 4 draws across the county championship throughout the week, or throughout each weekend, but this could be one of those. Oh, God, I'm really, really struggling with this one in terms of who's going to win, because both teams are going to be going all out to win it, backs to the wall. Both ended their divisional championships on a low in terms of losing games. Drum bet by Lockmore, Toom bet by Killadangan in the North final. God, this is a really, really tough one to call. I suppose Toom probably finished stronger against Bursley than Drum did against Killer One, but it's just though you'd back Drum not to concede those goals again, wouldn't you? I think I'm going to have to go a draw. We'll go a draw on that one. Can't call it. We'll go a draw. Both teams will probably live to survive another game in the championship heading into the final round of games. So that's Group 1 of the Senior Championship. We'll try and get through, 10 minutes in. We'll try and pick the pace up. So Group 2 now of the County Senior Hurling Championship. We have Moycarkey Burris against Thurles Sarsfields. We'll pull the fixtures up in front of me. Moycarkey Burris against Thurles. This is 6:30 in Templemore on Saturday evening. And Mullinahone against Roscrea, 6:30 Saturday in Holy Cross. So Thurles Sarsfields had that big, well, not big win over Mullinahone in the first day. What was it, 29 points to 119? And I mentioned Mullinahone had that goal chance late on where they hit the post and things could have been different. So Moycarkey Burris, on the other hand, had that incredible start against Roscrea. It was a 3-9 to 2 points after 13 minutes. Conceded a few late goals, which will be a little bit of concern for Eddie Brennan and his management team, but they will fancy this, I think. I think Moycarkey will really fancy this game now, coming in against Thurles Sarsfields, mid-rivals in the road, probably living in Thurles' shadow, as nearly most clubs have been in the last decade. But Moycarkey have been building underage in recent years, and they might feel that this is a time where they could take a scalp. So Moycarkey Burris will really fancy this. Where is it on? Inside in Templemore. That's where they've just after beating Roscrea. I would still give the nod to Thurles Sarsfields. It's hard not to. I feel Thurles on another day could have really ran away with that Mullinahone game. Conor Stakelin was in flying form. They probably took the foot off the gas just a little bit. I don't think they'll do that against Moycarkey Burris. I think Moycarkey Burris have the definite ability to run this very close, but I will lean with Thurles Sarsfields in that one. And then the other game in that group it's really hard to call. Like Roscrea, it was a real disappointing performance from them. As I said, that game was over before it started against Moycarkey Burris. Like, I'd imagine there's been a lot of soul searching in Roscrea since that. But they need to find something now, because they had that good performance against Toom in the second half in the North Championship, but then just an absolute bizarre performance against Moycarkey Burris. Now maybe in time, that performance against Toom and the one against Moycarkey Burris will play itself out, as in if Moycarkey Burris turn out to be unbelievable, it won't look as bad of a result for Roscrea. Or if Toom end up out of the championship, Roscrea's performance against them mightn't look as good, but time will tell on that. For Mullinahone, I'm not sure if they're going to have Conor Whelan and Mikey O'Shea back. As far as I know, they won't. That's as far as I know, but they had a very good second half performance against Thurles, and I think they would have taken a lot of confidence from that. And you can't really say the same against Roscrea. They could be down in the dumps after that. It's a really hard one to call. I'd say you could have a counter on the screen of how many times I'd say it's really hard to call. This game is one of those games. Gun to my head, Mullinahone or Roscrea. I feel like Mullinahone always have a result in them. Always a really hard team to beat. Probably more experience at the grade. Roscrea, quarterfinalists last year. I'm going to lean Mullinahone. This could be another one of the draws. Let's lean Mullinahone there. Could come to regret that Sunday evening, but time will tell. Let's move on. That's Group 2 of the Dan Breen Championship. Down to Group 3 now. We're motoring through it well. What are we? 13 and a half minutes, going well. What time? Rashid Adelecki's on in 5 minutes. I didn't time my recording of this too well, but anyway, moving on to Group 3, we have Lockmore Castellani topping this group at the minute, Holy Cross in second, Nina third and Laura fourth. So Nina, of course, beaten by Holy Cross by 5 points in the opening round, and Lockmore had that 421 to 117 win over Laura. So the fixtures: Saturday 7:15 in Clough-Jordan, Nina against Laura. Then Sunday at 4:30, this is live on Tip FM, Holy Cross Ballycal against Lockmore Castellani. So Laura will finally have Bonner Maher. They didn't have him against Nina in the North Championship. In retrospect, they could have played him, but that's all been played out now. So he is going to be back. For Nina, I think Nina will be very disappointed with that Holy Cross game, because it was kind of there for them. They made a few errors, hit a lot of wides, things like that. Had that goal disallowed. For Laura, they were right there with Lockmore for large periods of that game. Lockmore just kind of hit them with a couple of sucker punch goals, and the Lockmore goalkeeper, he's one of the McGraths, I often get it wrong, I think it's Aidan McGrath, he made some good saves in that game as well. So although Laura were well bet for a finish, I think they will take positives from that game, and the fact that Bonner Maher is back. These teams did meet in the North Championship. Nina won it well that day, but as I was saying, Bonner wasn't playing. I think Laura will be going down to Cloughjordan fancying this because they know, they have a very tough group. They're the bottom seeds in the group, but they're going in against a wounded animal in Nina who've been beaten, beaten by Tomb, then beaten by Holy Cross. So Laura will be coming in here raring to go. I think they'll really be targeting this game now, but just with Jake Morris, he's in great form. If they can just get more use out of him, I think there's a lot more to come from the likes of Conor Hennessy and Josh Keller. Conor McCarthy, you'd imagine he should be starting. Sam O'Farrell, if he's fit for Nina, he'd be huge for them. So although I could see Laura being right in this game all the way to the end, and I'm not just saying that as a kind of a throwaway thing, I do believe that. I will give the nod to Nina Eroge in that one, so we'll give Nina the nod there for them to get back on track. The other game in this group then, that's on, as I said, is it 4:15 or 4:30? Yeah, it is 4:30 in the Rag. Holy Cross Ballycal against Lockmore Castellini. Holy Cross with that brilliant win over Nina, Lockmore with that big win over Laura in the first round. I would have a fancy for Lockmore in this one, but I think Holy Cross, as I said with Mike Harkey, there's kind of a connection between those two teams in terms of young underage talent coming through. The likes of Brian O'Mara now is obviously coming of age, but the younger talent on that team, the likes of your Robbie Ryan, Jamila Hart, Ty Gould, who's brilliant the last day, James Doyle, he had a very good game, and then the likes of Dara Woods and those players for Holy Cross, Carl Barrett, of course, who are stalwarts for that Holy Cross team. For Lockmore, then you have Alden McGrath, Wooly Evanston, your man Rucker, Kieran McCormack, Liam Tracy's on brilliant form, and Lockmore beat Killinall in the football championship as well, so they'll be bouncing into this game. That wouldn't be any fear for them in terms of expending energy. Tommy Marr had a brilliant game as well, and the Connollys as well. So I will give the lean to Lockmore Castellini in this game. But again, they played each other last year in the championship. This is on in the Rag. I'm not sure where that last game was. Was it on in Borland where they played last year? Remember there was a point in it, and it turned out the scoreboard was wrong. The Holy Cross players were trying to lob a ball in late on because they thought they're 2 points down, whereas they could have just put it over the bar and drawn the game. So I think there'll be a real bit of bite in this game. I'll lean with Lockmore Castellini, but that is not said with a lot of confidence. When I put up a graphic of my predictions on Twitter, and it'll be like Lockmore Castellini will be my prediction to beat Holy Cross. And I'd imagine if you're from Holy Cross, you're looking at that saying, this lad doesn't fancy us at all. But I really think this could be a very close game. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Holy Cross wins, but Lockmore seem to be just on the crest of a wave at the minute, so we'll give it to Lockmore Castellini. So that brings us on to Group 4. So we'll get that up on the screen here now if you're watching. If you're listening, we're just getting it up. So this is JK Brackens in top place, Killadangan second, Clonalty third, and Templederry Kenyans in fourth. So this group, the highest scoring group, I'd say, in the county championship history after one round of games. 420 apiece between Clonalty and Killadangan after the first game. Templederry 320, JK Bracken 626 was the opening round performances there, results. So the fixtures then Saturday at 2 o'clock in Bursley. This is the start of that double header with the Drum and Tomb game. Both of those games will be live on Tib FM. Cian Tracy will be joining myself for the two of them down in Bursley. Clonalty Rossmore against JK Brackens. This is going to be a really, really good game. In Bursley as well, they both would have had their opening round games there as well. So it's hard to back against the team who scored 626 in the opening round of games. Clonalty Rossmore, they'll be coming in absolutely sickened, I'd imagine, with how they let that game slip against Killadangan. 8 points up going into injury time. But you'd imagine there'll be a sting. I'd be really interested to see if Conor Hammersley is going to be playing. He was playing with Tip New York last weekend when they won the New York hurling championship final. He's down on the programme as number 32 there, but not sure if he's going to be back, if his sanction is up or anything like that. So that's something to keep an eye out. For JK Brackens, they'll be absolutely bouncing into this. They had a win over Grange Mokler in the football championship over the weekend as well. Didn't hear of any injuries. Andrew Ormond missed that 626 performance against Templederry, so you'd imagine he should be good to go for this game. We all know that the quality of players on show here. The two Cadells, Lyndon Fairbrother, Andrew Ormond. God, like this is another difficult one, but I have a fancy for this Clounty Rossmore team. You know, they've so much talent. They'll be sickened with how they let that go. Like their forward line there, Danny Slattery, Stephen Ferncombe, Jack Ryan, Carl Burke, Thomas Butler, Robert Doyle. Like they have some really, really good players there. They had the beating of the county champions for 60 odd minutes. Um, so it's hard to back against that. But then on the other hand, JK Brackens with that 626 performance against Temple and they also hit like nearly 20 odd wides. Um, I'll give the nod in this one to Clouty Rossmore, but again, what's my confidence level in that? Not massive, I will say, but we will give the nod to Clouty Rossmore in that one. They played in the relegation semi-final last year, remember, and Clouty won that by 3 points. Now, Jacob Brackens have a new management. They seem to really be, riding a bit of momentum at the minute. So it will obviously be a very different game. But I will go with Clouty Rossmore, but I'm prepared. I am prepared to look a fool on Sunday evening if these results don't go right. Then the final game in the senior championship that we'll be looking at is 3:15 on Sunday in Nina. It's Killadangan against Templederry Kenyans. Killadangan will surely have gotten a bit of confidence from how they finished that game against Clouty. You know, it was probably a get out of jail free card. Maybe took their eye off the ball after the North final, that sort of thing. Come in and just I would imagine they'd get a huge boost now from how they finished that game, and it was probably maybe a bit of a wake up call for Templederry. You know, 626 is just, you can't be conceding that. So I'd imagine they'll be going very much defensive this week. You know, as defensive as possible, getting ball up to Sean Ryan, who can score on his own. We saw that against JK Brackens. You can hit him in any ball at all, and he can get a score. So I'd imagine we're going to see a defensive Templederry performance, but I would also imagine we're going to see a Killadangan victory. So we'll go with Killadangan in that one. So those are my predictions for the first round or the second round of the senior championship. There we go. Killer1 to beat Pursley, Clouty to beat JK Brackens, a draw between Drum and Toom, Thurles to beat Mycarkey. We went with Mulnahone to beat Roscrea, Nina to beat Lura, Killadangan to beat Templederry, and we went with Lochmore to beat Holy Cross. But the chances of all them being right now are slim. So not a huge pile of conviction in those predictions, but that is the Tipperary Senior Hurling Championship. It is notoriously hard to predict. So we'll move on now to the Premier Intermediate Championship. So Group 1, we have Ballinaha, Ballina at the top, Carrick Swan second, Silvermines third, and the favourites for the competition, Upperchurch Drumban in fourth after the round 1 games. If you need a top up, Ballina beat Silvermines 216 to 117 in the first round, and Carrick Swan had that 2-point win over Upperchurch 117 to 115. So the fixtures, then the Mines against Upperchurch on Saturday at 2 o'clock in Templederry, then Ballina against Cashel at 6:30. Sorry, Ballina against Carrick Swan in Cashel at 6:30 on Saturday. So Upperchurch Drumban, big favourites for the competition. They do have a preliminary quarter-final to fall back on should they not qualify, but they'll be looking to build momentum in this county championship and get a win over the Mines this weekend. Upperchurch, of course, in the County Senior Football Championship, but didn't have a game last weekend. They're in a group of 3 with Cahir and Ballina, so they were the bye week on that first week. So I'm sure it's been all hurling for Upperchurch, and the game being on in Templederry, I'd imagine the Mines lads won't mind that, only up the road for them. This is a massive game because the Mines will feel after losing to Ballina and just the seedings of the group and Carrick Swan and the flying form they're in, that they're going to have to pull something out of the bag here now to avoid a relegation battle. Upperchurch Drumban, as we said, losing to Carrick Swan, that was probably the kick in the arse they might have needed. It's hard to back against Upperchurch Drumban in this one, but you just don't know. Upperchurch, they might be low on confidence maybe after that game, under a bit of pressure as favourites. So don't be surprised if the Mines can keep this close, but I will have to go with Upperchurch Drumban in that first one. So we'll knock that down on the prediction sheet there. The other game in this group then is Ballina against Carrick Swan. Ballina, obviously they were playing football last weekend in that group with Upperchurch. They lost to Cahir by 2 points, but Stephen O'Brien didn't play that day, so interesting to see will he be fit enough to play. And Owen Power went off at half time. I'm not sure was that injury related. I'd imagine it probably was, and he scored 5 points from play against against the Mine. So if he's injured, he'd be a big loss. But again, there's really good talent on the field here. Of course, Michael Breen, David Kelly had a fine game the last day. We'll have to see about Stephen O'Brien, but Jack Collins is there as well. Charlie King, a fine hurler as well as a footballer. But then for Carrick Swan, Callum Lanigan is in absolute flying form for them. And obviously Gavin O'Halloran, Aaron O'Halloran back there as well. So I will give the nod to Carrick Swan on this one against Ballina. That would probably be, I'd imagine they'll be going in as favourites. So where is this? We're going to give the nod there in Cashel to Carrick Swan. So we'll go on to Group 2 in the Premier Intermediate Championship. And this is Éire Óg Anacarthy. So Éire Óg Anacarthy are at the top of this group. Gortnahu second, Cashel third, and Moyne Templetooey in fourth place. So just last Saturday, Éire Óg Anacarthy beat Moyne Templetooey 25 points to 118. 4 points for a finish, but Moyne Templetooey got a late goal and a late couple of frees to keep it close. By all accounts, Éire Óg Anacarthy were kind of the worthy winners on that day in Golden last Saturday. So they're back in action this weekend. And this is a massive game between themselves and Gortnahu. Gortnahu had that big win over Cashel by a point, 217 to 22 points in the opening round. So that was a huge win for Gortnahu, and they will fancy it against Éire Óg Anacarthy. This is one of those really difficult games to call, 4:45 on Saturday in Cashel. I've mentioned Dara Kelly, seeing him in the West final, how good he was. I think he only scored 2 points last weekend, but it was in a win, so they won't mind. Dara Mooney is just, if you're playing fantasy Seamus O'Reen hurling, if there was such a thing, Dara Mooney as your goalkeeper wouldn't be a bad shout, because I think he scored 3 frees the last day, last weekend, and he scored a good few in the West final as well. This is a really tough one to call. Gortnahu absolutely flying after that win. Keane Hayes in really good form. Davy Nolan, their fullback, their captain, making that late run against Cashel. This is Seamus O'Reen hurling at its best. It's a proper toss-up. I have a slight fancy for Éire Óg Anacarthy. The slightest of slight fancies. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, either of these teams could win this game by 5 points. It's kind of that much of a swing. Really hard to call. I will go with Éire Óg Anacarthy, but again, no conviction in that prediction. The other game in that group then is Cashel against Moyne Templetooey, 4:45. Cashel, one of the favourites for this competition. Moyne Templetooey probably, you couldn't say, are among the favourites at the minute. So they do have Conor Bowe and Grol O'Connor. They played the last day, but I think Cashel just have a more balanced team, probably, you'd have to say. So I will go with Cashel to kind of bounce back. I'm sure they've been just going hard at it since that opening round loss to Gortnahu. So this is a big game for Cashel. But you would imagine they played each other last year, and that was when there was a load of red cards. So watch out for this one. I think Cashel went down to 12 men on that day, and I think Moyne Templetooey could have went down to 13. There was a lot of red cards in that game, but we'll go with Cashel to win that one in Group 2. Moving on to Group 3 of the Premier Intermediate Hurling Championship then. And we have Borlan Douala against Thurles Sarsfields on Sunday at 6:30, and at the same time, that's on in Dundrum. At the same time in Toome, we've Clonakilty against Newport. So Borlan Douala sitting happy at the top of the table after their opening round win over Clonakilty. Mark Downey with a pair of opening goals on that day. This is going to be an interesting one. Thurles Sarsfield's second team, Borlan Douala, kind of, as what I mentioned on the first preview podcast, that you often see the intermediate champions kind of ride that crest of a wave into the next year. Of course, we saw Lura go back to back in terms of intermediate, then winning the Premier Intermediate. So Borlan will really fancy this. I think Thurles might just have a little bit too much for them. This is a tough game now. This is a really tough game, because I'd say Borlan are absolutely flying now after that opening round win. They'll get a huge boost from that. Thurles Sarsfields, in their opening round game, they bet Newport, I think, it was a 27 points to 214. Thurles Sarsfields, finalists last year. I'm going to have to go with Thurles Sarsfields in that one. It says Littleton on the sheet in front of me, but I believe, as I said, that game is now on in Dundrum. Well, yeah, just confirm that that's on in Dundrum. The other game then, Clonakilty against Newport. Clonakilty were probably favourites against Borlan Douala. They'll be very disappointed with how they performed that day. As we've mentioned, Newport missing an awful lot of lads this year, but got a few of them back the last day, and I'm sure they would have been benefited from the last kind of 2 weeks. So this is probably going to be closer than you might expect. I will go with Clonakilty though. We'll go with Clonakilty to win that one over Newport. Moving on then to the Group 4 of the Premier Intermediate Hurling Championship, and we'll pull that up there. So this is St Mary's top, Burgess second, Killinall third, and Sean Tracy's in fourth. The opening round games, Burgess beat Killinall 222 to 219, and St Mary's had that 120 to 14 points win over Sean Tracy. So if you're an avid listener of the podcast, you do know that I'm from Burgess. So am I going to back against Burgess? Absolutely not. So John, I'm not going to say too much about that one. I'm just going to put Burgess down. We played St Mary's a couple of years ago in Boherlahan, and St Mary's were already through. We needed to win, so we did get the win over them that day, but they were resting a good few lads. Hard to read too much into that. This is actually a double header down in Dundrum on Saturday. Killinall against Sean Tracy's at 4 o'clock, and then Burgess against St Mary's at 5:45. So I'll be rushing out of Bursley after doing that double header on Tip FM to get to this game to see it. So I will go with my own Burgess there for that one. Then the other game, Killinall against Sean Tracy's. Killinall were very good against Burgess. Probably a few wides at wrong times and things like that probably cost them. So Sean Tracy's, just the 14 points against St Mary's. It's hard to take too much confidence from that performance from their point of view. I think they seem to be down a good few lads in terms of injuries and things like that at the minute. So we will go with Killinall to win that one and get themselves up and running. And let's put 1 there, not a Q. So those are my predictions for the Premier Intermediate. We have Upperchurch beating the Mines, Killinall beating Sean Tracy's, Burgess beating St Mary's, Carrickswan beating Ballina, Carthy beating Gartnahoe, Cashel beating Moyne Temple 2, Thurles Sarsfield's beating Boherlahan, and Clonakilty beating Newport. If I was to throw a draw in, I don't have any draws in. I always feel you nearly need at least one draw somewhere. Probably the closest games I could see being draws are Gartnahoe and Carthy, and Boherlahan Duala against Thurles Sarsfields. I could see those ones being a draw. But yeah, let's move on now. What are we? We're 32 minutes. We're going well. We're going well. If you're listening, maybe listen to this on the way to work or something like that. We'll try and get it done before you get there. So, County Championship Intermediate Group 1. If it loads up for me here. So this is Clonalty, the newcomers, the Junior A champions last year. They're top. Golden Kilfeacle second, Ballybacon Grange third, and Kappa White in fourth. The fixtures are on Saturday, 6:45, Kappa White against Ballybacon Grange. Sunday at 2 o'clock, Clonalty Rossmore against Golden Kilfeacle. So that's obviously Clonalty's second team against Golden's first. The round 1 fixtures, Ballybacon, 7-point defeat to Clonalty. And Golden had a 216 to 15 point win over Kappa White, and they also met in the West final as well. So for those games, I'm going to have to go, where are we, Group 1? I'm going to have to go with Kappa White to beat Ballybacon, and then I'm going to have to go with Golden Kilfeacle to beat Clonalty Rossmore. Golden Kilfeacle among the favourites for this championship, and deservedly so. Finalists last year, West champions, motoring well, so we'll go with Golden there. Second group then, Kilsheelan are top, Ballingarry second, Bursakane in third, and Skeenarinky in fourth. Really competitive group. Kilsheelan had a 3-point win over Skaheen on the first day out. Bursakane had a 1-point loss to Ballingarry, but remember, Ballingarry were 10-13 points up in that game with 15 minutes to go, and Bursakane went on a late surge and just couldn't overturn that deficit. Ballingarry did hang on. By all accounts, Dylan Walsh on absolute flying form for Ballingarry, wearing the number 10. It actually says Dion Walsh on the Dion Walsh on the program. There's a bit of a spelling error there. That sounds like maybe an NFL player's name, but yeah, he's meant to be on right good form. So the fixtures here for that: Ballingarry against Kilsheelan in Carrick at 6 o'clock on Saturday. Then at 4 o'clock on Sunday, it's Bursakane against Skaheenarinky. Ballingarry and Kilsheelan met in the South final a few weeks ago, and Ballingarry did win that. But Mark Keogh, similar to who were we talking about earlier that was over in New York, Connor Hammersley. Mark Keogh was on fire in that semi-final and final over in New York for the Tipperary, New York, scoring goals galore over there. So if he is back for Kilsheelan, he'll be a huge shove on. So I'd probably go with Kilsheelan in that one, but They met a couple of weeks ago, and Ballingarry won when they met in that South final. So I will back Kilsheelan to maybe just overturn that result this weekend. The other game in that group then, Borrisokane against Skeenarinky. Borrisokane will be kicking themselves that they took them so long to get going, but the positive thing for them is they eventually did get going. This game is is it on in Kappa White? Is that fixture correct? It's on in Kappa White, so I will give Borrisokane the nod there in that one. So we'll go with Borrisokane. We'll move on to Group 3 of the Intermediate Hurling Championship. Let's go there. And we have Shannon Rovers top, Drummond second, Portrush third, and Arvale Rovers in fourth. The opening round results were Shannon Rovers 23 points, Arvale Rovers 21, and Drummond 317, Portrush 26 points, a draw in that game. So we've Arvale Rovers against Portrush on Saturday at 6:30 in Newport, and then at 1:30 in Nina we have Drummond against Shannon Rovers. Port, AJ Willis and Ruan Mulrooney were playing for Tip New York. I think AJ Willis is to come back. I'm not sure if he's back yet, but if he is, he'll be a huge shove on for Portrush. So I will go with Port to beat Arvale Rovers in that game. That's on in Newport. We'll give Port the nod there. And then the other game in that group is Drummond against Shannon Rovers in Nina. Shannon Rovers with that huge win over Arvale, like massive win in the context of their season. But I think Drummond are just very strong at this grade. But it's on in Nina, and Shannon Rovers will fancy that. Just would have been playing in Nina more often than Drum will be. I'll go with Drum in this one, but again, Shannon Rovers upset the odds against Arvale Rovers, and they'll be bouncing into this game probably with a degree of pressure off them. So don't be surprised if Shannon Rovers go close here, but I will go with Drummond just in this one. They've been into the latter stages of this championship in the last couple of years, and they'll probably be disappointed with just letting up the last couple of scores against Portrush in that last game. So we'll go with Drummond there, but as I said, don't be surprised if Shannon Rovers go close. And then Group 4 of the Intermediate Championship, we have, that's the Premier Intermediate. Group 4 of the Intermediate, where are we gone? The Michael Mayer Cup. We have Knockavilla in first place, Moneygall second, Carrickdavins third, and Upperchurch Drumban in fourth. And the fixtures then are Knockavilla against Moneygall. This is Friday evening at 7:15, and that's on in the Rag. And then in Care on Sunday at 6 o'clock, we've Carrickdavins against Upperchurch Drumban second team. Knockavilla are going to be a good test for Moneygall, but I still will fancy Moneygall. Knockavilla 5-18 they scored in that opening round game to Upperchurch Drumban's 3-8. So Knockavilla will be flying into this game. Moneygall 2-24 without Joe Fogarty, so they'll very much be bouncing into this game as well. I'll go with Moneygall. They're my favourites for the championship. I'm not going to back against them being bet here in the group stage, but Knockavilla will have different ideas about that one. And then Carrickdavins against Upperchurch Drumban. Upperchurch's second team, they've been kind of backed to struggle at this grade. Carrickdavins beaten by Moneygall in that opening round, but that was probably to be expected. So they'll be targeting a win in this game. So we'll go with Carrickdavins. So the no draw there. So I've only backed one draw or predicted one draw for the whole weekend. But let's run down through the predictions for the Intermediate Championship. Moneygall to beat Knockavilla. We've Kilsheelan to beat Ballingarry. Port to beat Arvale Rovers. Kappa White to beat Ballybacon, Drummond to beat Shannon Rovers, Golden Kilfeacle to beat Clonoulty, Borrisokane to beat Skeenarinky, and Carrickdavins to beat Upperchurch. If I was to maybe guess which could be a draw, Ballingarry Kilsheelan, could see that being a draw. After that, I'd be confident enough with my predictions there for that one. So that's pretty much it for this week's week's preview podcast. Enjoy the weekend of games. Loads to look forward to. I will do my fancy little transition back to my other camera. There we are. Look at that. Look at that for production value. But Sunday evening I'll try and get the review podcast out. So really looking forward to these games. As always, like, retweet. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a good rating. Retweet the post on Twitter and things like that. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll try and get up to 50. Imagine 50 subscribers. We're nearly there. I think we're on like 39. So humble beginnings here for the P. Carroll Sport YouTube channel, but do your best. We'll try and grow this thing. So as I said, Sunday evening, that's when I'll be back to you. Enjoy the games over the weekend. And yeah, we'll talk to you Sunday. Good luck.